What's up everyone? Welcome back to episode 2 of PC Flipping. The last 2 PCs I've listed, they've been listed for about 2-3 weeks now, and they haven't really sold. I've gotten a couple messages here and there, but it's mostly just been a couple people wanting to trade, and it's unfortunate, and I was really hoping to make some quick flips off these and not having to wait, but I know this has been a slow season on Facebook for right now. There's been many people online, and many people have been complaining about their computer hasn't been able to sell. I listed a camera. It was taken right here as well, where I take the photos for the PCs, and that sold within like 3 days. I know it's not like the listing photos, I made sure those were alright. I didn't go too above and beyond because, people are probably going to be viewing these on their phone. So, phone quality is all I really care about. Is if I can get good photos on my phone and good videos, then that's all I really care about right now. I do want to take photos on this camera for listings, but that'll definitely be once I move into my new room and I get a whole little setup, because I want to have a new background. I want to be able to do that type of stuff. The Elite desk that I listed with the 4GB graphics card, that is lowered down to $200 now. I lowered it to $225, and it's been lowered to $200 now, and it's gotten a couple more clicks and a couple more people interested, but still nothing. And then the other computer that I listed for $100, the school or office computer, I've lowered that down to $80, which is probably the lowest I can go for that. I mean, I'm really hoping to make a sale, but at the same time, I'm not going to stop building computers just for that. But this has definitely taught me that I definitely want to get into custom PCs, where it's a custom case and it's not pre-built, and I think that I'm only going to start buying pre-builts for the cheap parts inside, and I'm just going to sell the shell on eBay. I think I got 2 computers I want to work on today. We're going to actually benchmark, see how I run some games as well, because that's something that I missed out in the last video. But yeah, let's go get those computers. The 2 computers that we will be working on today is this Dell Optiplex 9020, as well as this Lenovo ThinkCentre desktop. So these 2 computers are going to be the ones that I'm working on. This one has an i5 4590, and then this one has an i7 4770. This has 8GB of RAM in it, and this has 4GB of RAM. Both are DDR3, and I have plenty of that, so that shouldn't be an issue. But before we start building these computers, let's plug these in and make sure these turn on. I plugged it in the ThinkCentre and it turned on right away, and after hooking up the Dell Optiplex, it turned on as well. Now that we know both these computers work, I'm going to work on this one first. Let's get started. The first thing that I do with any computer is I just take it apart and just look at what I'm dealing with. I just like to see what connectors the motherboard has, what is already in the device, and, what can be added. This computer does have the 8GB of RAM that it did have listed, as well as a DVD drive, and for $40, this is not that bad of a computer. Let's get this heatsink off and repaste the thermal paste. I don't know what it is with the Incredible Hulk screwing in these heat sinks that I never seem to be able to get out. What the hell? Whoa! I'm getting a power drill. Alright, I'm getting a pair of pliers. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. This is my least favorite part about building computers, is when I can't get that off. Because I'm not going to damage the screws, I'm not going to damage the motherboard, and I'm not going to damage the CPU. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I already had the other CPU here to put in there, but looks like we're rocking with this one. I don't like doing this. I would really prefer to repaste this and that kind of stuff, but I guess not. It's unfortunate that I can't get this CPU up, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to continue on with this build, do everything that I would, and so the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take a can of compressed air and I'm going to clean out the inside of the computer. Now that we got a good amount of the dust out, we can put the RAM back in, as well as putting back the piece that holds the DVD player. The next piece that we'll be adding is this 128GB SSD that I got off of eBay for just a little over $5. I tucked the SSD right under the DVD player, as well as throwing in a Radeon R5 240 1GB graphics card. The last thing I wanted to do before I started testing this PC was just clean the outside case a little bit. It's been sitting in my room for a couple months, same with the other PCs, and it needs a good cleaning. There's a little bit of dirt and dust and grime just sitting on the computer, so it's good to get this cleaner out and to clean it. I plugged in my USB stick with Windows 10 and started installing it. I didn't have any issues with the SSD being formatted incorrectly or anything like that, so it was a clean install, and the setup went just as smoothly. Now that Windows 10 was installed, I made sure to update everything that was needed in the settings, as well as downloaded the graphics driver. I think we're ready to test some games. The first game that we have is Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, running at 720p medium settings. We're getting an average of 33 FPS, with a maximum of 38 and a minimum of 28. Even though that it is not rising that much and it's only 5 frames, it's only dipping down 5 frames at the same time, so this is a pretty smooth performance. The next game that we have up is Left 4 Dead 2, running at 1080p medium settings. We're getting an average of 50 FPS. I wish it was a little bit higher, considering that this is a very old game, but it's still very playable. We hit a maximum of 80 and a minimum of 37, so it's still very playable and it never dipped down into the unplayable region or the slideshow. The next game that we have up is Minecraft 1.20, running on the Simply Optimized engine. Running this at 1080p fast settings, we're getting an average of 115 FPS with a maximum of 119, and that's only because I put the FPS limit to 120 because I thought that's the highest it needed to be before it started stuttering really bad. And I was wrong. I probably could have pushed this up to 180 like the other computer we're going to be looking on later in this video. This next game that we're going to be looking at is Tomb Raider 2013, running at 720p low settings. We're hitting an average of 30 FPS, which does match the Xbox One and PS4 performance, but we were hitting a low minimum of 18. I wish that was closer to like the 24 range, 25, just so it wasn't looking as flickery in some scenes in some places. But besides that, it was definitely a playable experience. I just continued on my save and just played a little bit. The last game that we'll be looking at today is GTA 4. I wanted to play GTA 5, but there wasn't enough room on this SSD, and there wasn't another connector for a hard drive, so I had to make do. We were running this at 720p high settings, so higher than what the Xbox 360 and PS3 was playing it at, and we were getting an average of 30 FPS with a high of 40 and a minimum of 20, so really even spaced out minimums and highs. So I mean, it was definitely a playable experience. It was stuttering a bit, and I probably would turn on VSync, but I don't like doing that, especially with these lower type games where it can't even hit that 60 FPS. Now this PC, with everything added, cost me a little under $50 just to build, which is pretty good. It's a usable computer for under $50. At least my cost. It's valued at a little over $100, and I'm probably going to start the listing at $150, knowing that's probably not going to sell right away, and I'll probably have to lower that price down, but just to give it a good standing point, because Windows 10 is activated, and I cleaned it, I got everything done. As much as I wish I could have gotten into the CPU, cleaned the thermal paste, put new thermal paste and all that, but like I said before, the Incredible Hulk decided to screw the heatsink down, so I'm unable to. But let's start working on this next PC. Just like the other computer, I opened it up and just looked inside, and I immediately knew something was wrong. There was 8 gigabytes of RAM instead of 4 gigabytes, so I knew that the listing was incorrect and that the seller just did not know what was in the computer. Which upsets me because I bought this from an e-waste company that scraps this type of stuff, so they should know what's in it before selling it. The RAM that was included is different brands, but it should work because the computer did boot up last time. And luckily I did not have any issues with unscrewing this heatsink this time around. I don't know what it is with people and just deciding to screw this in as hard as they can. I was cleaning off the thermal paste on the CPU and heatsink, and that is when I noticed this. So they ended up lying to me because this is what it was supposed to be. So it's right there, i5 4590 with 4 gigs of RAM. This had 8 gigabytes of RAM, and that is an i5 3470. So worse than I thought. I'm not gonna let that stop me. I repaced the thermal paste as well as putting the heatsink back on, and now it's time to clean it out. Once that it was clean, I put the RAM back in, as well as throwing in the GT630 graphics card. I was gonna put a higher graphics card in here, a 4GB one, but since this isn't the right CPU that it was supposed to be, I do not want to put it in here. I threw in another one of the $5 SSDs. The reason why I have so many of these is I bought 10 of these SSDs untested on eBay for $50. It was a really good deal and I could not pass that up, so that's why I have so many of these. I installed it using one screw on the bracket, and there is a 3.5 hard drive holder as well. Speaking of that, I am putting in a 3.5-inch hard drive. It is a 500GB Samsung drive that I got out of the $20 computer part lot that I bought off of Facebook a couple months back. I fit that into place and screwed it in, as well as added in another SATA cable to plug into it. But this computer should be ready now, let's just make sure it turns on. After booting to the USB, it sat on this screen for a while, but it finally showed me the Windows symbol. I know it's all green, it's gonna be purple as well, but it's gonna be like that until the graphics drivers are installed. Besides my computer now looking like Incredible Hulk, everything was running pretty smoothly and I got it installed. And trust me, it stayed looking like this until I got the display drivers downloaded and all the Windows updates downloaded. But once they were, everything looked fine. Now let's move on to the games. I'm gonna be testing the same games between both computers. So this is Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition at 720 medium settings. It's the same settings I had on the other computer, and we had the same average FPS, but our maximum and minimums were just a little bit lower. Overall, it was pretty much the same experience. It was only a couple frames lower, and I couldn't even tell the difference. Next up, we have Left 4 Dead 2 running at 1080p high settings. I decided to turn the settings up compared to the last computer, because I felt like this graphics card just has a little more kick to it. And I was right, we were averaging 58 FPS with a maximum of 74 and a minimum of 37. While we were not getting the same maximum as last time, we have a way better average and we have the same minimum as last time. Now we have Minecraft 1.20, simply optimized once again, running at 1080p fast settings. Like I said before, I bumped up the max FPS all the way up to 180. And this was doing really well with an average of 144, a maximum of 175, and a minimum of 86. My best guess for why the minimum was so low is because we're running at a way higher FPS, and that just causes a bit more performance stutters. Next up, we have Tomb Raider 2013 running at 720p medium settings. I turned the settings up once again, and for whatever reason, we got way better frames than the last computer. This is making me think either I did something wrong, or that for whatever reason, just that instance of opening that game that time caused some background issues. But we were getting an average of 57 FPS with a minimum of 39 and a maximum of 80. This ran really well, and even in some menus, it was hitting over 100, but I did not want to include that, so I had to watch through all of the footage just to make sure I could see what the maximum FPS was. And last but not least, we have GTA 5 running at 720p medium settings, 0% sliders, but I did have the textures on high, and I am running this on DirectX 10 instead of 11, just to see if I can get a little bit better performance than last time I tried this card. And I would say that we did. We are hitting an average of 54 FPS with a maximum of 60 and a minimum of 33. I don't know how this game ran so badly when I just tested out this graphics card, but this was running really well, like very playable. And I know it's just the benchmark, but I would definitely play it on this graphics card.
Hey everyone, sorry about that break. It was Mother's Day over the weekend, so I went out of town to go see my mom and hang out with her and my brothers. So, sorry that this video wasn't uploaded in the weekend. I just took my time to do that. I know it's supposed to be uploaded Saturday. I was just getting all this done, and I'm really trying my best to make sure I'm uploading, and I've been doing better, and this week's just a bit rough. I'm gonna try to make sure this week's video, not only will this video be posted today, that I'll get a video posted Saturday for you guys. But all I need to do is I need to list pictures for this, and then I'll have them both listed. I already have the other one listed, and like I said, the other one's listed for about $150. I'm actually going to list this one around the same price as well, just because it's pretty similar. I didn't really realize this, but this graphics card in here, the GT630, is stronger than the other graphics card that I put in with the i7. So it probably, I originally was going to swap the CPUs because this was supposed to be a 4th generation i5 and it was a 3rd generation i5. So I don't know, I didn't want to just take it apart, swap the CPUs just for it to not work. So I just left it how it was, and I'm honestly just trying to get these sold. I want to get more into custom built PCs and step away from pre-builds just because I want to I want to learn more about customizing, about heat dissipation, and all that type of stuff, and I'm not really getting any of that when I'm just putting stuff in a pre-built. So, but if both these computers sell, that means we could make upwards of $200 profit just off of these computers, which is really nice. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys liked the benchmarks. I hope you guys liked everything. If you want to see anything else in this series, let me know down below in the comments. But that's all I have for you guys today. I'll see you guys later.